So speaking of that, let's get into some sleepers, my man. Let's go.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, brother. Clearly, we have a lot of sleepers to talk about, so I want to hit on a couple before our main featured sleepers over here on the night, my man. Big note right here, AJ. Brian Barberena flew to Vegas this weekend without knowing who he was going to fight. So he had a fight with Matt Brown that got called off because Matt Brown got COVID. Matt Brown's all right, all that good stuff, right? But he was like, I just want to fight. And first off, that's a testament to how tough the man is. I want to fight so bad. I'm going to Vegas. Book me opponent sometime in between now and then, right? And he got one. He got Darren Weeks, man. He got a man who's supposed to be contender series cap, 5-0, 3 knockouts. Should be dangerous fight right there. Barberena, the more experienced fighter, clearly, like straight killers versus this up-and-comer. But even if you're taking it on a week's notice, AJ, man, this is an opportunity of a lifetime for Weeks. This is a life-changing matchup right here for Weeks. Just off the top, do you think Brian Barberena needs to tread carefully in this fight? I'll just tell you the odds really quickly. -125 is Barberena. -105 is Weeks, man. So he's not even plus money on that. Interesting to see. What do you think about that?
Interesting to see those odds. Yeah, no, I honestly, I'm a big Bam Bam fan, man. Brian Barberena has a lot of respect in my book. This dude comes to fight, but same thing with Weeks, dude. Weeks, he looks like 100. He has 100% finish rate in his 5 finishes in his 5 fights. But he can wrestle, bro. This dude is well rounded. He was going to be on the Dana White Contender Series because there was some kind of COVID issue that happened with him too. So this dude's game ready, bro. This dude's ready for the show. He's not a slouch. If I'm Brian Barberena, I'm treading a little bit carefully. Obviously, still sticking to them knuckles, but yeah, treading a little bit more carefully and thinking this dude is a slouch.
Absolutely, man, and that is over under 2.5 rounds. So we'll see where that one goes. AJ, super under the radar here, and I think that neither of us chose this as a featured sleeper, because we talk about them so much on the program already. Alonzo Menafield versus William Knight. Talk about a matchup right there, man. Yes, is it 205 pounds? Yes, it's a light heavyweight matchup, but these boys bang like heavyweights, brother. The only difference here is that Menafield has one approach to this fight that can make it a little bit boring, quote unquote, and is that he could wrestle, right? But you got to be able to get past the hands before you want to start that wrestling, and both of these dudes can crack. Knight's coming off of a knockout. I'm not sure if Menafield's coming off of a win or a loss, but we know how much power the man carries in his hands. What do you think about that matchup there?
Bro, there's you know when that like the TV shows are going and people there's like the giants are walking in, you got your water glass shaking, ripples shaking. Yeah. That's gonna be these two dudes walking into the octagon, man. These dudes not only carry weight in the hands, but everywhere they go, bro, these dudes are throwing absolute heat, very well rounded. This was and you're correct, Eric. I left this one as a sleeper because we just talk about him too much. You know, there's other people to highlight, but this is one of those fighters that you cannot, or the fights that you cannot blink on, because this is going to be fast, man.
I'm telling you, man, right here, all it takes is one, man, and that's why, rightfully so, or actually, wow, crazy, 2.5 rounds is the over-under on this one, man. So the odds makers, hey, folks, you might have to take the under on that one. These boys can crack. However, they both got really good chins too, so maybe that's why the odds makers are going that way. Believe it or not, Menafield, -175 favorite, +150 comeback for Knight, man. So let me just ask you, just off the top, who are you leaning towards on that one?
Honestly, I was leaning a little bit more towards Menafield. I agree with the odds makers on that one. He seems like the more, at least as memory serves, a little bit more frequent of a fighter. I forget who William Knight fought in his last one. Dude's an absolute killer, but I'm leaning a little bit more towards Menafield. What about you?
Yeah, I'm same here just because of that wrestling aspect right there. We saw William Knight get dominated in the wrestling a couple fights back, man. So he has to keep it standing if he wants to win. We'll see if that happens. AJ, Louis Smolka, he's coming back for the first time in quite some time, man, against Vince Morales. That's just going to be a fun matchup. I just wanted to ask you specifically about Smolka. I think the man is a very highly touted talent, but once again, under the radar, man. He's fought killer. It's like one of those guys where he's like a gatekeeper, even though he's not a ranked fighter, if that makes sense, right? And not a gatekeeper towards the title, but a gatekeeper towards, oh, you're legit. You know, if you could beat Louis Smolka, okay, you're legit. The man has nice hands, great grappling. I mean, overall, the full package, in my opinion. 17-7 in his MMA career, not bad at all, man. Are you as high on Smolka as I am? Like, do you agree that he is kind of that gatekeeper?
Oh, yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Even the UFC makers agree with you, because they had Sean O'Malley in his last bout before it got canceled. And that was one of those ones where it's like, okay, Sean finally gets to prove if he's a legit real deal. And Smolka's been doing it for, I don't know what, like 10, 12, some crazy odd years. This dude's an absolute animal in there. And you got to be a real like top elite fighter, like Tim Elliott, Ray Borg, Matt Schnell, somebody like Casey Kenny up there to actually get a dub on Smolka. You can't just be in there, you know, run-of-the-mill normal fighter, man.
Yeah, I agree with you. Man. Manel Kape, must-win situation right here, man. He needs to get back to his winning ways, but he's fighting a man who got a very slick submission win in his last fight against our boy. But Zhalgas Zhumagulov, man, the fighter out of Kazakhstan, is fighting Manel Kape, 125-pound bout. I was kind of surprised to see this, man, because once again, we're talking about former Rising champions and all that, right? I mean, Manel Kape, he was that guy. He came in and he fought a ranked fighter off his UFC debut, and here he is fighting Zhalgas Zhumagulov. Don't get me wrong. Zhumagulov is a beast. We saw what he's been able to do. He's had a couple of rough fights, but when he turns it on, man, he could turn it on, whether it's with the hands or it's the grappling, my man. But what's interesting to me is that Kape is a minus 220 favorite on this one. Should that be higher, AJ, or do you think that's a reasonable amount? Or do you think maybe it should be a little more, it should be a little closer odds? Do you think it'll be more of a competitive bout? How do you feel about this one?
No, I feel like that's pretty close. 220 is what you said?
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like that's pretty close. I mean, and all credit to Manel Kape, dude. He's been fighting some savages, but I feel like he was one of those ones where he kind of sizzled in the pot. You know, he wasn't really that flash that we were expecting to see. Kind of made a couple of excuses in his debut. Zhumagulov is an absolute killer. I mean, you know, he was getting pieced up by the homie Rivera until he got caught with that slick submission. So he's a dangerous dude, man. Zhalgas can get it done. This is one of those tests that Manel Kape really needs to win to solidify himself and not be kind of put back in the queue for this one.
Not just to win, AJ, but unless you disagree, I think that this is like a showcase bout. I think he needs a spectacular victory. Listen, dude, you're over there training with DC and Habib and all that, man. You better be putting it together, man. You're a former champion. A lot of people thought you had UFC champion in the making. I still think so, man. At 125, I think he could totally be in that mix. He just got to, turn it on. Volume, man. And then I guess one of the last ones before we get into it, man. Name change. Cheyenne Vlismas. No longer Cheyenne Bay. Cheyenne Vlismas is fighting Mallory Martin. And, listen, man, I've been doing a lot of thinking on this. People are making a really big deal out of the separation, I believe, of the name, for Vlismas. That's her maiden name. That's her original name. AJ, if you were making your big shot right now into the UFC or the NFL or NBA, whatever, right? And you got married and for whatever reason you took your spouse's name, would you ever feel truly fulfilled in the sense where your identity is being showcased and shined, right? Because it's not your name. Bays is not her last name. That is a name she inherited via marriage. So getting the Vlismas back, she had even commented on Instagram saying it's going to be like a dream hearing my actual name called, for real. So people are making a big deal out of this. That's none of our business personally, but just tell me what you think about that. Do you think the identity, the whole true childhood dream is now being fulfilled because you actually get your name called?
I like that. There's two ways to think about it. I know a lot of the time, sometimes, celebrities, especially when you're in this kind of limelight that the UFC is in, they'll change their name just to not have that pressure on their family. A lot of the time the family starts getting hit up for money and whatnot. Honestly, I like that she went back to her roots. It's that pride thing. I got a lot of family pride, even though I'm a little bit of a nomad traveling around, La Raza is still La Raza. So, you got to be proud of the family, man. I like that she's going back, even if there is some disagreements as far as the last name switch. I like it a lot. What about you?
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I'm indifferent about it, honestly. I think it's cool because she gets to do what she wants to do. I just think people have been making a big deal out of it because guess what? You made your UFC debut with your husband or, husband at the time, and you kind of made your fame connected to this other man and this other name. You came into the UFC as Bae, so people are always going to remember you as that. So now it's going to be just a little bit of time to, she just needs to get a couple big wins, and then that Vlismas name will actually stick. But it's kind of similar. Caitlin Chukagian, her name is no longer Chukagian, but she keeps Chukagian on her fight shorts, just because that's how it goes. Like Nina Nunez, before she was Nina Nunez, she kept Ansarov for a little bit. So, neither here nor there. The point is she's fighting Mallory Martin, right? And Mallory Martin, if you remember, hashtag no one can save you. That's her whole thing, right? Well, no one saved her in her last fight, man. Rough, very rough. And I remember watching the game plan, and she just rushed into it. She was fighting some grappler, and Mallory Martin just rushed in and got taken down and finished like immediately. And I was like, God damn, this is terrible. Because I'm a big fan of Martin, dude. She's very skilled. And I think that this is going to be one of those bounce back fights for her where she needs the win. Cheyenne Vlismas, she needs a win here too to capitalize and build on her momentum. Minus 190 is Vlismas with the plus 150, come back from Mallory Martin. Over under 2.5 rounds. Who do you like in this fight, AJ?
Yeah, I think this is actually a bounce back fight for both of them. Both fighters really need a win going forward. I'm going with the name change, man. I'm going Vlismas on this one. Vlismas. Yeah, Vlismas. There we go. However you say it. I'm going with Cheyenne on this one. I think It's honestly a very close fight, though. What about you?
I like Martin in this fight, AJ. I just think that on the feet, I mean, the Warrior Princess, Cheyenne Blissman, she's going to have all the success on the feet. When it comes to the grappling, things are going to get interesting, and I think Martin is going to learn from her mistakes that she made in her last fight. This is do or die for her, and I think in those situations, man, we see what you're made of. I think she's a very talented prospect, and, listen, you have to be motivated, especially when there's a hype train in front of you. And right now, Cheyenne has a lot of hype behind her. So we'll see what happens. But I'm leaning Mallory Martin on that one, plus money. But we'll see what happens, man. You never know. Like we just said earlier, this is the fight game. So with all that aside, man, a lot of fun ones. Maki Pitolo versus Dusko Todorovic. That's the last one, featured prelim. Don't even got to say anything about that. But Dusko, please keep your chin down, because Maki Pitolo, his nickname is Coconut Bombs for a reason. I'm just going to leave it at that. AJ, let's get into the featured sleepers, my man. And we'll start off with yours, brother. A welterweight bout. Minus 190 is the Celtic Kid, Jake Matthews, with a plus 160 comeback for Jeremiah Wells. He doesn't have a nickname, but he's fighting out of Philadelphia, and Paul Felder has praised this man worlds beyond, man. This dude is a monster. We did a photo collection of him last time he fought where he's screaming, staring into the camera after he's just destroyed his opponent. It was amazing to see. Talk to me, brother. What do you like about this fight?
Bro, I picked this fight because this is really a fight of two different paths. The slow burn of Jake Matthews or running with the dogs that Jeremiah Wells likes to do, bro. This fight's going to be insane, man. If you've been paying close attention, for about the last 7 years, Matthew has been on a slow climb to the top. Long, lanky, power in the hands, very well-rounded. Has had a couple issues with submissions in the past, but don't get me wrong, Matthews is no slouch. The only dudes he's been tapped out to are names like James Vick, Anthony Martin, Sean Brady, these dudes who are killers on the ground. And then you got Jeremiah Wells. Wells is taking the fast approach to the top, but that's his style, man. Fast, explosive, very, very fun, fan-friendly fighter. All about the pressure, but the gas tank, when they're all about the pressure, have all those muscles, all that explosion, the gas tank does come into play, man. He had an amazing debut fight against Warley Alves, and I'm expecting the same kind of style going into this one, man. Will Matthews be able to handle the heat that Wells is going to put on him? It's going to be hard to tell. Will Wells be able to handle the pressure and the experience and the technique that Matthews has? It's going to be interesting to see, man. There's a lot of questions going to be answered in this fight as far as who's going to be rising to the top in the 170-pound division going forward. Both of these dudes are on the come up, and expect their names in a lot of these fights coming up soon, man. What do you think about this fight, Derek? Who do you got going for it?
Well, first, the interesting thing that I have on this one is that I look at Jake Matthews and I say, oh, that's the veteran. That's like the old man, right? This dude is 27, dog. Like, Jeremiah Wells is 35, and he's the newcomer. He's the rookie, right? So, like, first off, I'm like, okay, that's an interesting thing, because Jake Matthews, he is the old dog in the UFC at least. And you're right about the slow burn, man. This is a dude who has been around forever. You know the name Jake Matthews, man. He's fought everybody there is to fight, basically, right? But he's only 17-5, 10-5 in the UFC, which is very impressive, right? 5 fights over 500. There we go. Sorry about that. And the big thing about me, man, is he has this traditional boxing, kickboxing style, big overhand right, but he's a BJJ black belt with good wrestling. So that's what's interesting to me, is he's a BJJ black belt, and he's lost the most by submission out of all methodologies, right? 1 knockout, 1 decision loss, 3 submission losses. So it's interesting when you're the black belt on that one. Nonetheless, you're right. Big names who he has fought, where he has been submitted in there. Jeremiah Wells, AJ. I think he has a big chance of winning this fight at plus money. And the reason why is because of his explosiveness, man. Sometimes you can, and I want to be careful with my words here. You can be very technical, right? And you can be very patient, and you can be like a Jake Matthews. He could try to stand his ground for a little bit, but Jeremiah Wells is such an explosive athlete that he can overpower that with pure strength and dominance. And you never really want to hear that, right? Because you want to say, oh, technique always beats power, but does it? Right? Even if you weigh the same, man, some people just have ungodly strength, you know what I mean? And I'm not going to say that Jake Matthews isn't mature yet, but think about it. A 35-year-old body versus a 27-year-old body. You kind of grow into your body a little bit. You see all the muscles on Jeremiah Wells. Physique aside, AJ, he's a switch fighter, man. He got that long reach, 74 inches. It's only 1 inch advantage over there on Jake Matthews. And I just think he's going to try to keep the fight standing as much as possible, try to avoid taking it to the ground. But if he does take it to the ground, I see it being those blitzing like those blitzing offensive attacks where Jake Matthews ends up like back flat against the cage and he's just getting smashed in with ground and pound, as opposed to I'm going to sit in half guard and I'm going to go transition by transition. So I think the explosiveness, man, is a huge factor in this game, and I'm giving a slight edge to Jeremiah Wells. However, the experience of Jake Matthews can easily prevail here. Am I kind of like you? Are you with me on that one, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm with you 100%, man. Jake Matthews might be the better fighter, but the better fighter doesn't always win. That's the crazy thing about this one, man. And I honestly like Jeremiah Wells as the underdog in this fight going forward. He kind of has that unpredictability that we like to see in the fights going forward, man. This one's going to be a lot of fun. You got to tune in.
Absolutely. Tune in, folks. And then I guess the big question on that one is if Jake Matthews is smart, is he going to be able to just try to get Wells tired for the first couple of rounds, survive, get him tired, and then beat him up come round 2 and 3? Because that seems to be the game plan. Cardio could be a little bit of an issue for him. Now, AJ, for me, heavyweight bout, brother. And this is going to be an interesting one, folks, because this is a short notice fight. And I got the mountain, Jared Vanderaa, man, a big heavyweight with good hands. He lost his last fight, man, but he's a monster of a man. 6'4", 80-inch reach, good boxer, much to be desired on the ground, right? We don't really want to go to the ground. That's his kryptonite right there. But Chris striking. But he's fighting a man named Azmat Murzakanov. Sorry about that, folks. This dude is someone who you're going to know his name here in the very, very near future. He's 10-0, 35-year-old southpaw, but he has crispy striking, AJ. This dude's striking is unbelievable. But here's the thing. This dude's a light heavyweight who says, fuck it, I'll take a fight at heavyweight. On short notice, too? No big deal. You know what I'm saying? Dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. But my big key on him is precision meets power. That's this dude's definition right here. He's just crisp on the money. Everything, right? Southpaw, switching it up with orthodox. He's cracking you with everything. And he's knocking you the fuck out. He hit dude with these Hadouken uppercuts, man. The bus driver uppercut that puts people to sleep. Like, he's hitting people with everything. The kitchen sink, man. But this is the big key on why this is a sleeper. The only way that Azmat, can win, he has to get inside. Jared Vanderaa has an 80-inch reach. I'm sorry, I keep fucking up this man's name, man. I'll get it right one of these days, man. Murzakanov, he has a 71-inch reach. There's a 9-inch reach disadvantage here. The difference, though, is Murzakanov can also grapple, so he could knock your head off or he can grapple with you. We might see that versus Vanderaa, but this is a sleeper because you're gonna have literally David versus Goliath, but David got some fucking pop on him, my man. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough because all of the fights that you've really seen from Murzakanov have been regional fights. You know, he's an open weight champion in Brave, and Brave is a very respected promotion, but open weight right there, man. Look, what's up? That's like the dude who goes to the gym and says, hey, big man, what's up? You want to spar? Let's rock, homie. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't give a fuck. So I'm just saying this, folks. Yes, this might have not have been the most technical breakdown for you sleeper-wise, but I will say this is going to be a very exciting match that you're going to want to tune in because of the pure spectacle of it. Listen, over the break for this MMA break right here, I was watching Triad Combat where they're fighting in a triangle. Frank Mir getting his head knocked off by Pulev, man. You know, all that craziness, right? Like, I was watching that. So for the spectacle, I know people will tune in. You need to tune in. AJ, you have any comments on this sleeper?
No, man, you hit the nails on the head. Dude, I literally, I did a little breakdown for both these guys, but the big key I saw in this fight is absolute banger alert, bro. Yeah. This one's going to be crazy. You let Jared Vanderaa punch you on the outside, you don't get this dude down to the ground. He's got absolute melons. You're talking about Maki Pitola's coconut bombs. This dude's got watermelons for hands over there, Jared Vanderaa, and an absolute granite chin as well as a granite will we saw on display in his last fight. Murzakanov, I'm glad you were the one messing it up, Derek. I'm not sure how to say that one either, but they call him the professional, and that's absolutely right. This dude's been doing it since he was 18 years old, and literally, he was like, yeah, you know, I like all the sports, blah, blah, blah. He's talking about his master in sports, and he goes, but I really like just hand-to-hand combat. That's right. That made me happy, man. I loved hearing that from the guy. You know he has a high fight IQ. Banger alert on banger alert for this one, man. Start sounding the horns. This one's going to be a fun fight.
Absolutely, folks. So we basically hit almost every single prelim that we have right there for you. Tune in. You know what time it is, man. 15 fights on this card. You got a lot of good prelim fighters to watch out for. All right, AJ, next up is the main card. But before we do that, once again, folks, just, weekly reminder, subscribe, drop a like, all the good stuff, man. You guys have been rocking with us pretty heavy, so you know what to do. Just hit the subscribe button. Hit us up at Bloody Water Podcast where you can check in our personal rankings, man. Every single post show, every week, we're going over a rankings dispute, a rankings review, going over our personal rankings, comparing them to the UFC's consensus rankings, and seeing where fighters really should belong, you know. It's easy for the UFC to just say, oh, I'll put him at 14, 13 here. But they don't ever have to explain or justify. We do. We have to say like, well, if that guy could be that guy, why do you have him there? So tune in for that as always, folks. And lastly, Bloody Water Podcast on Instagram, Bloody Water Pod on Twitter. Love interacting on the socials. Hit us up on either one of those. You already know what time it is.